Kevin Race, a name synonymous with success in the business world, stood as a towering figure in his industry. With an impressive portfolio and a string of accomplishments, he was the epitome of a successful entrepreneur. His charm and sharp wit had earned him admiration and respect among his peers. But behind the facade of corporate triumph lay a man with a dual identity, one that few knew about. Beyond the boardrooms and business meetings, Kevin harbored a profound passion for the great outdoors. Every spare moment, he would escape into the wilderness, seeking solace in the untamed beauty of nature. Whether it was hiking through dense forests, scaling rugged mountains, or kayaking down turbulent rivers, Kevin found a sense of freedom and clarity amidst the wilderness that he could never attain in his urban life. This duality, the relentless businessman and the fervent outdoorsman, defined Kevin's existence. However, beneath the surface of his seemingly perfect life, there churned a sea of underlying turmoil. The legal troubles that hounded him were not mere inconveniences, but storm clouds that threatened to dismantle his carefully constructed world. Whispers of financial discrepancies and dubious dealings began to circulate, casting a shadow over his pristine reputation. The once celebrated businessman found himself entangled in a web of legal battles, struggling to maintain his composure as the walls closed in around him. Kevin's life was a paradox, a blend of triumph and tribulation. The serene landscapes that brought him peace stood in contrast to the turbulent waters of his professional and personal life. As he navigated through these challenges, the mysteries surrounding his past and the secrets he harbored added layers of complexity to his story. Kevin Race was more than just a successful businessman. He was a puzzle, a man caught in between two worlds, each vying for dominance. Kevin Race's story begins in the small, picturesque town of Woolwich, Maine. Growing up amidst the rolling hills and dense forests, Kevin developed an early love for nature and the outdoors. His childhood was filled with adventures, exploring the rugged terrain and discovering the beauty of the natural world. These formative years instilled in him a profound appreciation for the environment, shaping his character and his future aspirations. As Kevin matured, his passion for the outdoors remained steadfast, influencing his decision to carve a niche in a field that aligned with his interests. In his early 20s, he founded Custom Cordage LLC, a company specializing in the manufacturing of high-quality ropes and cords. His innovative approach and commitment to excellence quickly set his company apart in the industry. Recognizing the need for a strong partnership, Kevin joined forces with David Bird, a like-minded individual with a shared vision for the business. Together, they propelled Custom Cordage LLC to new heights, combining their expertise to innovate and expand their product line. Their synergy was undeniable, and their collaboration became the cornerstone for their success. Under Kevin and David's leadership, Custom Cordage LLC flourished. Their ropes, known for their durability and reliability, gained a reputation for excellence in various industries. From mountaineering to marine applications, their products became indispensable tools for professionals and enthusiasts alike. The company's success not only solidified Kevin's standing as a savvy businessman, but also allowed him to merge his entrepreneurial spirit and his love for the outdoors. Kevin Race's impeccable reputation began to unravel when allegations of embezzlement surfaced. The initial shock reverberated through the business community, shaking the foundations of Custom Cordage LLC. Allegations claimed that Kevin had siphoned off a staggering $250,000 from the company he had so painstakingly built. The whispers of financial misconduct grew louder, casting a dark shadow over his achievements and creating a sense of unease among his colleagues and investors. The evidence against Kevin was compelling. Detailed financial records revealed a series of unauthorized transactions, all leading back to his personal accounts. The media quickly picked up on the scandal, and headlines blared in the news of his alleged crimes. As the public scrutiny intensified, Kevin's once celebrated status as a business mogul began to wane, replaced by skepticism and suspicion. With an impending court date looming, Kevin found himself caught in a whirlwind of legal battles. A civil lawsuit against him was not just a mere formality, but a significant threat that could dismantle everything that he had worked for. The charges were grave: theft by unauthorized taking, a serious offense that carried severe penalties. His legal team scrambled to mount a defense, but the odds seemed increasingly stacked against him. Kevin's days were now consumed by meetings with his lawyers, poring over documents, and preparing for the courtroom drama that awaited him. The stress was palpable, affecting his personal life and fraying the edges of his once unshakable composure. Friends and allies began to distance themselves, wary of being associated with the growing scandal. As the court date drew near, the tension escalated. The prosecution painted a damning picture of a man who had betrayed his own company for his personal gain, while Kevin's defense struggled to counter the overwhelming evidence. The civil lawsuit threatened to strip him of his assets, leaving him financially ruined. The legal troubles were not just a professional setback, but a personal nightmare that haunted him daily. In the midst of this turmoil, Kevin grappled with the reality that his life's work could be undone by one single mistake. The allegations of embezzlement, the looming court date, and the charges of theft by unauthorized taking were not just legal battles, but a test of his resilience and character. As he stood on the precipice of a potential downfall, the true measure of Kevin Race was not yet to be revealed. The events leading to Kevin Race's disappearance were shrouded in mystery and tension. As the legal troubles mounted, Kevin's behavior grew increasingly erratic. Friends and family noticed his escalating anxiety and despair, but no one anticipated the drastic steps that he would take. On the morning of September 9th, 2007, Kevin was last seen leaving his home, his demeanor solemn and introspective. He had always found solace in nature, and it seemed that he was seeking one last refuge. A note was discovered in his study, addressed to his loved ones. It revealed his intention to journey to Mount Washington, a place he had always revered for its majestic beauty and challenging terrain. The note expressed a deep weariness with his battles that he faced and a longing for peace. Kevin wrote about his desire for a final resting place amid the serene wilderness of Mount Washington, a stark contrast to the turmoil that had consumed his life. The words hinted at a man who had reached the end of his tether, seeking an escape from the unrelenting pressures that plagued him. The reaction from his family and friends was one of shock and disbelief. Kevin's sudden disappearance left a void filled with unanswered questions and profound concern. His close friends, who had always known him as a resilient and determined individual, were heartbroken by the note's revelations. They organized search parties, hoping to find him safe and sound. As days turned into weeks, the search for Kevin intensified. His disappearance became a focal point in the media, drawing attention from all corners. Speculations ran rampant, but the note he had left behind offered the only real clue to his whereabouts. The authorities, along with volunteers, combed the rugged landscape of Mount Washington, but their efforts yielded no trace of Kevin. For his family, the ordeal was a harrowing experience. The uncertainty of his fate weighed heavily on them, each day bringing a fresh wave of anguish. Kevin's note provided little comfort as they grappled with the possibility of never seeing him again. The hope that he might be found alive clashed with the fear that his final resting place might indeed be the unforgiving wilderness that he had mentioned. Kevin Race's disappearance remains a haunting chapter in the lives of those who knew him. The events leading up to it, the note he left behind, and the reactions of his family and friends paint a picture of a man driven to the edge by his circumstances. His story is one of unresolved mystery and lingering sorrow, leaving a mark on all who were touched by his life and sudden absence. The discovery of Kevin's car at the base of Mount Washington set the stage for an intense and wide-reaching search effort. Parked inconspicuously at the trailhead, the vehicle was the first solid clue confirming Kevin's intended destination. This discovery mobilized law enforcement agencies, search and rescue teams, and volunteers, all united in a mission to find Kevin. Law enforcement quickly set up a command center near the site, coordinating the efforts of various teams. Experienced search and rescue personnel, familiar with the treacherous terrain, were dispatched to comb the vast expanse of Mount Washington. Their expertise was crucial as they navigated the dense forest, steep inclines, and rocky outcrops that characterized the area. Volunteers from the community, friends, and even strangers moved by Kevin's plight joined the search. Equipped with maps, flashlights, and determination, they spread out across the mountain, following trails and exploring less accessible areas. The collective effort was heartening, showcasing the community's solidarity in the face of such uncertainty. However, the search was far from straightforward. Mount Washington's rugged and unforgiving landscape presented significant challenges. The weather was unpredictable, with sudden shifts from clear skies to dense fog or heavy rain, complicating visibility and making the ground slippery and hazardous. The sheer size of the area to be covered was daunting, with countless nooks and crannies that could easily conceal a person. Navigating the terrain required physical endurance and careful planning. The dense underbrush and rocky paths slowed progress, and the high altitude posed risks of its own. Search teams had to be mindful of their own safety while pushing forward in their quest to find Kevin. Despite these obstacles, the search continued relentlessly, driven by the hope of bringing Kevin back safely. Each day, teams returned to the command center to report their findings, adjusting their strategies based on new information. The presence of his car was a constant reminder of his last known location, but the vast wilderness seemed to swallow up any clues as quickly as they appeared. As days stretched into weeks, the resolve of those individuals remained strong. The challenges of the terrain only seemed to strengthen their determination. The rugged beauty of Mount Washington, with its majestic peaks and deep valleys, stood in contrast to the grim reality of the search, serving as both a backdrop and an adversary in the hunt for Kevin. As the search continued with no conclusive results, speculations and theories began to swirl. Whispers of foul play and conspiracy grew louder, casting a shadow of doubt over the circumstances of his disappearance. One of the most persistent allegations pointed towards Kevin's business partner, David Bird. Rumors suggested that their partnership might not have been as harmonious as it appeared on the outside. Some believed that David, who had as much to lose from the company's legal trouble, might have had a hand in Kevin's disappearance. The timing of Kevin's vanishing act, coinciding with the escalating legal issues, fueled these speculations. There were also speculations about Kevin's fate. Some theorized that Kevin might have staged his own disappearance to escape the mounting pressures and potential consequences of his legal battles. The note left behind, while heartfelt, could be seen as a calculated move to divert attention and create a plausible narrative for his absence. Conversely, there were those who feared the worst, believing that Kevin might have succumbed to the overwhelming stress and chose to end his life in the wilderness that he so loved. The message in his note, expressing a desire for a final resting place, lent credence to this somber theory. The debate between suicide and a staged disappearance became a focal point of discussion among the public and media. Each theory had its proponents, each presented a different facet of Kevin's enigmatic life. The absence of concrete evidence only fueled the speculation further, leaving everyone to ponder the true fate of Kevin Race. In the months following his disappearance, his family clung to a fragile hope, desperately wishing for his safe return. Each passing day without news deepened their despair, and the initial optimism giving way to a gnawing uncertainty. They grappled with the emotional toll, oscillating between hope and grief as the reality of Kevin's absence settled in. The legal and financial repercussions of Kevin's disappearance were swift and severe. Custom Cordage LLC faced a tumultuous period, with the allegations of embezzlement casting a long shadow over the company's operations. Investors and partners pulled back, weary of the instability and the unanswered questions surrounding Kevin's sudden vanishing. The company's finances were heavily scrutinized, and its reputation took a significant hit. Despite Kevin's absence, the court proceeded with the embezzlement case. After thorough investigations and testimonies, the court delivered its judgment. Kevin was found guilty of the charges, a decision that further complicated the legal standing of Custom Cordage LLC. The ruling brought some closure to the financial discrepancies, but did little to ease the lingering pain and confusion experienced by those close to Kevin. The mystery of Kevin Race's disappearance remained unsolved, with countless unanswered questions. Speculation and theories continued to swirl, but no definitive answers had emerged. His family and friends and former colleagues were left to navigate a landscape of uncertainty, their lives irrevocably altered by the events that had transpired. In the wake of these developments, the story of Kevin Race became a cautionary tale, a blend of success marred by a scandal and an unresolved disappearance. The ongoing mystery kept his name in the public consciousness, a reminder of how quickly a life of triumph can be overshadowed by unforeseen turmoil. Kevin's life, marked by both remarkable success and profound mystery, remains a topic of reflection and speculation. His achievements as a businessman and his passion for the outdoors painted a picture of a man who seemed to have it all. Yet, the turbulence beneath the surface, culminating in his disappearance, revealed a complex and troubled individual. The lasting impact on his family and community is undeniable. Kevin's disappearance left an emotional void, a source of ongoing grief and bewilderment for his loved ones. They grapple with unresolved questions, the duality of hoping for closure and fearing the worst. The community, once united in admiration for his business acumen, now shares its collective sorrow and curiosity about his fate. The unresolved nature of Kevin's case continues to haunt those who knew him. The unanswered questions about his final days and true reasons behind his disappearance linger, casting a shadow over his legacy. Kevin Race's story serves as a reminder of the fragility of success and the hidden battles that can be defined in a person's life. The unresolved nature of Kevin's case keeps it in the public eye, a reminder of the unanswered questions that continue to plague those who knew him. As the search for the truth persists, the story of Kevin Race remains a blend of success, scandal, and mystery. What do you think happened to Kevin Race? Leave your theories in the comments below. Have you or someone you know experienced a disappearance in a national park? Please get in touch with us to tell us your story or leave it in the comments below. The desert spanning Arizona and New Mexico has long been woven into Native American myths and legends. It's seen by many as a place of mystical power, a spiritual vortex where natural beauty and supernatural energy converge. In 1988, this striking yet harsh wilderness became the backdrop for a real-life puzzle. The mystery started on Halloween. At dawn on October 31st, 140 miles east of Tucson, Arizona, local farmer Larry Rivers encountered a young stranger who said he was searching for the beast. A witness named Larry Rivers recalls an encounter. I pulled over and rolled down my window. "Hello, you lost?" I asked. He looked at me calmly. "No, I'm not lost." "Well, what are you doing out here?" "I'm looking for the beast," he said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I chuckled. "You're not going to find any beast out here." "I'll find it," he replied with determination. "Well, I'm going to keep looking." "You need a ride somewhere?" I offered. "No," he shook his head. "I'll be fine." The stranger was later identified as 29-year-old David Stone, who had been missing for 2 years. David was once a highly successful stock market analyst, managing a branch of his father's business in La Jolla, California. However, around 4 years earlier, he expressed a desire to change his life and became deeply involved with a New Age movement. This movement encompassed various religious beliefs and philosophies aimed at self-enlightenment and spiritual growth, often involving practices like crystal healing, pyramid power, and meditation. Unfortunately, David's intense obsession with his newfound spirituality may have led him down a journey with no return. David's father, Harry, described him as an overachiever in nearly every aspect of his life. Known for his kindness and gentleness, he was deeply devoted to his family, always present and caring. Yet, this same man transformed completely when he stepped onto a football field. In his uniform, he became a proverbial commando, displaying a fierce intensity and relentless drive that stood in stark contrast to his off-field demeanor. This duality in David was remarkable. Off the field, he was thoughtful and considerate, embodying the qualities of a loving family member. On the field, however, he was a formidable athlete, channeling his inner strength to every play. This unique blend of strength and kindness defined David, making him both a gentle soul and a powerhouse competitor. For years, David grappled with his dual nature. Then, on October 28th of 1988, during a party at his apartment, David momentarily lost control. A friend of David's, John Duffus, describes the encounter. David started hitting him. He said he might have hit him 20 or 25 times. He didn't really hurt him, but he felt like he had to do that. Roughly around 9 o'clock the next morning, he came down and told me what he had done. I asked him where he was going, and he replied, "Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe to the Grand Canyon, Sonora Desert. I don't know." David told John that he needed some time away to reflect on his explosive behavior, promising to return home in a few days. However, 5 days later, David's car was found abandoned on a desolate stretch of New Mexico highway on Route 80. When they hadn't heard from David, his family had contacted the New Mexico State Police. It was then that they learned his car had been found abandoned and had been towed in. The police interviewed local residents and discovered that several had seen David. Lillian Richens recounted, "We had left our home in Cotton City and were driving up to the ranch. As we passed by, we saw this young man and thought perhaps he'd had car trouble. So we stopped. 'Hi, you broke down? You having car trouble?' we asked. 'No, I'm okay, thank you,' he replied. So we just went on." Another local, Glenn Duncan, shared his encounter. "I heard this voice and saw a man walking across the way, saying, 'Be gone, I am the power.' It struck me as unusual that he'd be out in the desert at that time of year wearing shorts with no coat or anything." David's car was found near the Pyramid Mountain Range, a site significant to New Age philosophy. Every year, many followers visit this area for what are known as vision quests. According to New Age beliefs, a vision quest is an introspective journey undertaken to discover one's inner self. It is thought that through isolation and meditation, a person can experience a vision that reveals their true identity. Harry Stone believed that upon arriving at the Pyramid Mountain Range, David felt it was the perfect starting point for his vision quest. Harry explained that such a journey requires a significant process of preparation, which involves confronting what is termed the beast. The beast represents the evil or negativity within oneself, and it is something that every person must face and conquer before achieving a state of oneness with God. Harry was convinced that David was determined to undertake this personal and transformative quest. 4 days after his son's car was found, Harry Stone joined a full-scale manhunt organized by the Boot Heel Search and Rescue Team. For 3 days, they scoured the desert using 4 planes and over 40 trackers and volunteers on the ground. David's trail led northwest from his car, heading towards Granite Peak. Ralph Doughty found it intriguing that the mountain, when viewed from the south, had a pyramid-like shape. He noted that this distinctive appearance might have held some significance for David's belief, though he couldn't be certain. It was an interesting observation, suggesting a possible connection to the New Age symbolism that might have influenced David's journey. Half a mile from the highway, searchers uncovered the first in a series of bizarre clues left by David. John Hill recounted that searchers discovered a large pyramid made of sand and rocks up in a wash. This was the first clue they found. As John continued further down the canyon, he noticed that the tracks seemed very fresh. He experienced a strange sensation, the hair on his arm standing up, accompanied by an intense feeling that David was somewhere nearby, possibly watching him. On the second day, trackers stumbled upon another puzzling clue. David had constructed another small pyramid, but this time he left behind his gold Rolex watch and 2 quarters. The coins in David's watch were found about a quarter-mile from the first pyramid. Roughly 3 miles to the north, searchers uncovered another baffling clue, a sequence of numbers written in the sand. They were later identified as part of the Fibonacci series, commonly used by stock market analysts worldwide. However, the last number in the sequence, which should have been 21, was written as 18 by David. The Stones now believe that the number 18 might have been David's way of signaling that he was in trouble. Ironically, his car was found at mile marker 18, and during his senior year in college, David's football jersey number was also 18. By the final day of the search, the elements had nearly erased David's footprints. However, bloodhounds managed to track his scent across the rocky desert terrain, following it back to Highway 80. The trail abruptly ended at the intersection of Interstate 10, about 13 miles north of where his car had been found. At the time, searchers took it as a hopeful sign that possibly David had hitchhiked out or someone had picked him up and given him a ride. That was the only explanation they could think of for why his scent vanished so abruptly. At the conclusion of the search, Carol and Harry Stone conducted a thorough inventory of the items left in David's car. Hidden inside a pocket version of the New Testament, they discovered a business card with the name Tony Ballesteros and an Arizona phone number. They promptly reached out to Ballesteros. Ballesteros said, "I never met David Stone myself, but a possible way he could have gotten my card is that I placed it in a tree for other friends to find our campsite. Maybe the wind blew it down, and he picked it up later. But at this point, nothing makes sense how my card got into his Bible." In addition to the business card, the Stones discovered a note with unusual wording. The note said, "They think the word is in the safe. 6 knives in Rob's room. Use buys your tea and use take your chances. Halloween." No one was sure what the word tea meant. The Stones think it might be like the old saying, you buy your ticket and you take your chances. But the note just says, use buy your tea and use take your chances. Halloween. And that was the day he disappeared, October 31st, Halloween. What is the meaning behind the strange clues David left scattered across the desert? Were they a coded message indicating that he was in trouble, or a hint towards his ultimate destination? It appears that David successfully walked out of the desert, but what happened to him after he reached the intersection of Highway 80 and Interstate 10? Carol Stone explained, "There are always these unanswered questions. You know, life has to go on, and it's very difficult at times. We always want him to feel free to contact us, to let him know that we love him, and we want to hear from him." As the years have passed, the mystery of David Stone's disappearance remains unsolved, leaving his family and friends with more questions than answers. The clues he left behind, from the strange pyramid to the cryptic note, continue to puzzle those who search for meaning in his last known actions. Did David's spiritual quest lead him to an unforeseen fate, or did he find a way out of the desert, only to begin a new, unknown chapter in his life? We invite you to share your thoughts and theories on what might have happened to David. Could the clues he left behind provide insight into his ultimate destination or state of mind? Your perspective and ideas might shed new light on this enduring mystery. Please leave your comments and join the discussion on what could have become of David Stone. John Sturkie, a 55-year-old electrician, lived a life marked by a profound appreciation for the outdoors and a deep commitment to his family. A member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers for over 26 years, John was not only skilled in his trade, but also possessed a warm and generous nature that made him a beloved figure among friends and colleagues. His adventurous spirit often led him into the wilderness, engaging in activities that ranged from hunting and skiing to surfing and camping. John's leadership skills shone through his role with the Federation of North American Explorers, where he mentored boys and organized camping trips, often connecting with the more challenging youths. John shared his life with his wife, Teresa, with whom he celebrated 20 years of marriage, and together they raised 4 children. The family's bond was strengthened through numerous shared adventures, and John instilled in his children a love for the great outdoors. His life was full of meaningful relationships and cherished experiences, with each thread representing his roles as a son, husband, father, and friend. The mystery surrounding John's disappearance began on January 4th of 2019, when he embarked on what was supposed to be a routine off-roading excursion in the San Jacinto Mountains, an area he knew well and often visited. With his 4x4 Toyota Tundra, John ventured into the mountainous terrain, a place where he had previously felt safe and at peace. However, this trip was different. As night fell and a heavy snowstorm swept through the mountains, John found himself trapped and alone. Despite his extensive outdoor experience and familiarity with the area, John Sturkie vanished without a trace, setting the stage for a perplexing mystery that would captivate and concern all that knew him. On January 4th of 2019, John Sturkie set out on an impromptu adventure that would soon turn into a puzzle shrouded in the snowy veils of the San Jacinto Mountains. That morning, the weather in the mountain region was deceptively calm, but as is common in mountainous terrains, conditions deteriorated rapidly towards the afternoon. By the time John initiated his journey, the skies were overcast, and the chilling whispers of an incoming snowstorm were noticeable in the air. John's last known activity was driving his robust 4x4 Toyota Tundra towards the Fuller Ridge trailhead, a popular yet rugged route in the mountains. Known for its scenic views and challenging paths, the trail was familiar for John, offering him the solitude and challenge he often sought. However, this time, his journey into the mountains was not pre-planned, nor had he informed anyone of his destination. His family and friends believed it to be just another day until he failed to return home. As dusk approached, the weather took a dramatic turn. The temperature plummeted, and what started as a light snowfall escalated into a severe blizzard, cloaking the mountain in white and reducing the visibility to nearly zero. The sudden shift in weather conditions was typical for this region, but catastrophic for an unprepared traveler like John, who found himself in the midst of a perilous whiteout. Unknown to his family, John was struggling against the elements. The lack of informing anyone of his whereabouts left his loved ones unaware of the brewing crisis. It was only as the hours stretched into days without any word from him that the unsettling silence began to raise alarms. The realization that John might be lost, or worse, started to take root, initiating a desperate search against the ticking clock and the unforgiving mountain weather. This mysterious silence marked the beginning of a perplexing case that would challenge the resources and resolve of everyone involved. The unsettling mystery of John Sturkie's disappearance began to unravel when his wife, Teresa, faced the inexplicable silence following what she believed was a routine day for John. As hours turned into a worrying overnight absence, Teresa, fraught with anxiety, initiated a search for any clue that might reveal his whereabouts. Her first breakthrough came when she decided to investigate John's phone records, a move driven by desperation and intuition. These records led her to a startling discovery. John's phone last pinged in the remote and rugged terrain of the San Jacinto Mountains, a location he had not mentioned visiting. This crucial piece of information redirected the search efforts and intensified the urgency of the situation. Simultaneously, a seemingly unrelated 911 call had been made on the day of John's disappearance. This call was dialed by a group of off-roaders who had stumbled upon John after his truck became ensnared in a rough patch near the Fuller Ridge trailhead. These well-meaning strangers managed to help free the stuck vehicle. During their brief interaction, they noticed John's calm demeanor, but were unaware of the peril he was about to face as the weather conditions worsened. They reported the incident to the emergency services, hoping to secure some assistance for John. However, the dispatcher receiving the 911 call misclassified the situation as a simple vehicle disablement rather than an urgent rescue scenario. This critical error stemmed from the off-roader's assurances that John had declined further help, leading the dispatcher to prioritize other emergency calls perceived as more dire. As a result, no rescue teams were dispatched, and John was left to face the rapidly deteriorating weather conditions alone. The initial misclassification of the emergency had dire consequences. As the storm intensified, John's situation grew increasingly perilous, yet the authorities remained unaware of the gravity of his situation. This oversight delayed the search and rescue operations, crucial in early hours of a disappearance in such treacherous conditions. The gap between John's actual needs and the response mobilized by emergency services created a critical window during which John was lost to the elements, his fate hanging in the balance while his trail grew cold in the snow-covered mountains. The search for John Sturkie evolved into a massive effort that tested the resolve and resources of both local authorities and the community. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department spearheaded a series of extensive searches that included multiple helicopter sweeps over the rugged terrains. These aerial searches were critical, given the challenging geography and the severe winter conditions that blanketed the area with thick snow, making ground searches perilous and slow. Despite these efforts, the helicopters were unable to locate John's truck, largely due to the dense forest canopy and the intermittent heavy snowfall that obscured aerial views. The terrain itself posed significant obstacles. Steep ravines and thick underbrush made the mountainous area nearly impassable in places, further complicating the search operation. Amidst these challenges, the community rallied to contribute to the search efforts. Kathy Tarr, a local with intimate knowledge of the mountain trails, and John King, who had experience in search and rescue, became pivotal figures. Their involvement brought a nuanced understanding of the terrain and potential areas where John might have sought shelter or inadvertently strayed. As weeks turned into months with no sign of John, official efforts began to wane. However, the determination of Teresa Sturkie, bolstered by Kathy Tarr and John King, kept the search alive. The community-led initiative refocused efforts on areas less traveled, theorizing that John might have sought a less obvious path in an attempt to find help. The breakthrough came when John King, revisiting areas previously searched, spotted the top of a vehicle wedged against a rock below the Filler Ridge campground. This discovery reignited the search efforts at a time when official resources were beginning to pull back. The truck's location, in a remote part of the trail not visible from the air and difficult to access on foot, highlighted the critical role of local knowledge in such searches. Following the discovery of John's truck, the community and family-led searches continued with renewed vigor and purpose, despite the official search ceasing. They coordinated efforts, shared data meticulously, and persisted throughout challenging weather conditions, driven by a collective resolve to uncover the fate of John Sturkie. This phase of the search underscored the profound impact of community involvement and the essential nature of hope in the face of adversity. The prolonged and arduous search for John Sturkie culminated in a sobering discovery on a steep, secluded ravine on the northern slopes of the San Jacinto Mountains. It was a somber resolution to the mysterious disappearance of a man who had ventured into the wilderness only to vanish without a trace. The discovery occurred after extensive searches by both authorities and volunteers, highlighting the persistent efforts of a community united by hope and determination. John's body was found in a condition that indicated he had succumbed to the harsh elements of his environment. The recovery operation was challenging due to the location's inaccessibility. Positioned 400 feet downhill from the Pacific Crest Trail, the ravine was not visible from standard search paths and required specialized equipment to reach. A helicopter had to be deployed to retrieve John's remains, underscoring the difficult terrain that had isolated him in his final moments. The medical examination of John's remains was equally complicated. The primary challenge was the determination of the exact date of his death, which was crucial for both legal and personal reasons. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, the coroner's office faced difficulties in establishing a precise time of death. Initially, the date of death was listed as June, months after John had actually disappeared. This discrepancy had significant implications, notably affecting the life insurance benefits for the Sturkie family. This issue sparked a contentious debate regarding the practices of the medical examiner's office. Teresa Sturkie, John's wife, advocated vigorously for an accurate estimation of the date of death based on the condition of the remains and the last known activities of her husband. She argued that the evidence strongly suggested that John died shortly after his disappearance, not months later, as the official documents stated. The determination of the death date in cases like John's is often guided by both forensic evidence and environmental factors, yet the unique circumstances of his disappearance made standard procedures difficult to apply in his case. The discovery of John Sturkie not only brought closure to a painful chapter for his family and community, but also highlighted the complexities involved in resolving cases of individuals who go missing in vast, unforgivable landscapes. The recovery operation and subsequent forensic investigations underscored the challenges faced by search and rescue teams and the critical importance of accuracy in medical and legal follow-ups in such cases. The resolution of John Sturkie's disappearance brought profound emotional and psychological effects for Teresa and their children. The relief of finally knowing his fate was mixed with the deep sorrow of loss. For months, the uncertainty had left the family in a state of hope and grief, which significantly impacted their mental health and daily lives. Teresa often spoke of the anxiety that gripped her children, describing the immense relief they felt upon learning that their father had been found, yet also acknowledging the foundation of their lives had been irreversibly altered. The ordeal underscores the emotional toll of a missing loved one, where the lack of closure can perpetuate pain and uncertainty. The community's response to John's disappearance and eventual discovery was marked by an overwhelming show of solidarity and support. Local volunteers, many of whom had never met John, dedicated countless hours to the search, driven by a sense of community duty and compassion. Local authorities, despite the initial cessation of the search, resumed efforts following the persistent advocacy by the community and the Sturkie family. This collaboration highlights the community's capacity to rally together in times of crisis, providing emotional and logistical support that proved crucial throughout the search and after John's discovery. Teresa faced significant administrative hurdles, particularly with the coroner's office and the insurance company. The misclassification of the date of John's death on official documents complicated the process of claiming life insurance, which is often critical for families dealing with loss. Furthermore, Teresa's request for detailed search reports were repeatedly denied, adding to her frustration and the family's financial strain. These challenges illuminated the bureaucratic obstacles that can exacerbate the difficulties families face following such tragedies. John Sturkie's adventurous spirit and his profound love for his family were central to his identity. His legacy, characterized by his passion for the outdoors and his commitment to mentoring young people, continues to inspire those who knew him. The memories of shared adventure and his enduring influence on his children and community offer some comfort amidst all this grief. The ordeal brought to light several key lessons about emergency preparedness and the importance of community support in times of crisis. The Sturkie family's experience highlighted the need for better coordination and communication in emergency responses and a more empathetic approach to the bureaucratic processes affecting grieving families. Moreover, the community's role in sustaining search efforts and supporting the family emphasized the invaluable impact of collective action during such critical situations. For the Sturkies, obtaining closure was not just a personal relief, but a communal achievement, reminding everyone involved in the resilience and strength that can emerge in the face of profound challenges. On October 28, 1981, in the suburban area of Newburgh Heights, Ohio, just outside Cleveland, a seemingly ordinary day turned eerie for three young boys who stumbled upon something unexpected. The boys approached cautiously and realized they had discovered a body. It was eerily placed as if someone had carefully positioned it. The body had minor cuts and bruises, but no obvious signs of violence. One of the body's tennis shoes was found lodged among some rocks about 12 feet away, while the other shoe was missing entirely. Within a few hours, the authorities identified the body as 17-year-old Kurt Sova, who had been missing for 5 days. An autopsy later revealed that Kurt had died 24 to 36 hours before his body was discovered, adding to the puzzle of where he had been and what had happened to him during those days. Dorothy Sova, the mother of 17-year-old Kurt, was tormented by unanswered questions following her son's tragic death. Desperate for clarity, she expressed her anguish, saying, "I need to know where Kurt was during those 5 days. What happened to him? What caused his death? I'm convinced someone knows because they placed him there. They had to have been with him when he died or found him afterwards and then panicked. They didn't want to get caught with him. Her words reflected a mother's relentless pursuit of the truth, convinced that someone holds the key to unraveling the mystery surrounding her son's final days. Desperate for answers, Dorothy Sova turned to the television show Unsolved Mysteries to help unravel the truth. The questions haunting everyone were, where had Kurt been during the days he was missing? Did he die in that vacant lot, or was his body brought there after he died? And how could a seemingly healthy 17-year-old die with no clear cause? The sudden and unexplained death of a teenager is always tragic, but for Ken and Dorothy Sova, the parents of Kurt, the pain was deepened by the mysterious and perplexing circumstances surrounding their son's disappearance and death. Kurt Sova lived with his parents in a close-knit, hard-working community on the outskirts of Cleveland. As the youngest of 4 sons, Kurt had a particularly strong bond with his parents. Ken Sova, Kurt's father, struggled to make sense of his son's sudden and mysterious death. Reflecting on Kurt's character and behavior, he said, "Kurt was never in trouble with the neighbors, at school, or with the police. That's what makes this so confusing and hard to understand." His words highlighted the baffling nature of Kurt's case, as if his son had always been well-behaved and trouble-free, making the circumstances of his disappearance and death all the more perplexing. The last time Kurt was seen alive was on Friday, October 23rd, 1981, late in the afternoon. He had left home and met up with a friend just a block away from his house. Kurt didn't return home that night, which was unusual for him. He was always home by 10:30 or 11 p.m. at the latest, and only if his parents knew where he was. By Saturday morning, worry had set in for his parents. Dorothy began calling Kurt's friends to see if they had seen him, while Ken searched the neighborhood and local hangouts. Ken Sova, deeply concerned for his missing son, described the frantic search efforts he and his wife undertook. He recounted, "We checked everywhere we thought Kurt might be. As the day went on with no sign of him, my worry turned into fear." His words capture the growing dread and helplessness he felt as hours turned into a desperate search, realizing that something was terribly wrong. By Sunday, Kurt's parents reported him missing to the Cleveland Police Department. Dorothy covered the neighborhood with flyers bearing Kurt's picture, hoping someone had seen him. Dorothy Sova described the exhaustive search she and her husband undertook to find their missing son. She said, "We looked everywhere we could think of, ravines, schoolyards, even dumpsters, hoping to find any clue to his whereabouts." That Sunday afternoon, a glimmer of hope appeared. Kurt's friends mentioned that he had attended a party on Friday night in Newburgh Heights, less than 2 miles from his home. Dorothy went to the duplex where the party was reportedly held. When Dorothy arrived, determined to find out what happened to her son Kurt, there she encountered a frustrating dead end. She knocked on the door, hoping to speak with someone named Susan, who was said to have hosted the party the night Kurt disappeared. "Are you Susan?" Dorothy asked, her voice filling with urgency. "No, she's not here right now," the woman at the door responded, offering no further information. Desperate for answers, Dorothy pressed on. "Was there a party here last Friday?" "I don't know," the woman replied nonchalantly. "Can you leave your number? I'll have Susan call you." Dorothy left her contact details, but the vague responses only deepened her frustration, making the search for Kurt's whereabouts even more agonizing. When Dorothy eventually spoke with Susan, she was told that there had been no party and that she hadn't seen Kurt. However, a pizza delivery man confirmed that there had indeed been a party at the duplex that night. Pressed further, Susan finally admitted that Kurt had been drinking heavily, which was surprising to those who knew him, as he wasn't known to drink much. Dorothy was taken aback when she learned the details about her son's behavior on the night that he disappeared. Reflecting on what she had discovered, she said, "I was shocked to hear he was drinking. It was unlike him, but perhaps he was trying to fit in with this new crowd." Her words reveal the bewilderment and sadness that she felt, grappling with the idea that her son, who was not known to drink, might have been influenced by unfamiliar faces and circumstances that led to his mysterious and tragic fate. According to a friend, Kurt had felt unwell at the party and had been taken outside to get some fresh air. The friend left Kurt briefly to retrieve his jacket, but when he returned, Kurt was gone. Kurt's disappearance became even more alarming when a friend described the moment he realized Kurt was missing. Recounting his feelings, the friend said, "That's when my panic set in. I was terrified that something terrible had happened to him." His words convey the immediate dread and fear that gripped him, sensing that the situation had turned dire and that Kurt might be in serious danger. On Wednesday, October 28th, 5 days after he had last been seen, Kurt's body was found in a ravine just 500 yards from the duplex. As investigators surveyed the scene where Kurt Sova's body was discovered, one of them offered an unsettling assessment. He noted, "It appears to be a young male, likely around 17. We believe his body was placed here. Whoever did this knew the area well enough to hide the body where it would eventually be found by kids or passerbys." This observation suggested a calculated act by someone familiar with the local landscape, choosing a spot where the body would not remain hidden forever, but be uncovered in a manner that would draw attention and leave more questions than answers. Police discovered Kurt's left shoe was wedged in some rocks close by, but the right shoe was never found. His body was taken to the Cayuga County Coroner's Office for an autopsy. The coroner determined that Kurt had died 24 to 36 hours before his body was found, suggesting he had been alive for at least 3 days after leaving the party. The autopsy results provided little clarity in the case of Kurt Sova's mysterious death. Reflecting on the findings, the coroner stated, "We couldn't determine exactly how Kurt died. There were no signs of physical trauma, no lethal amount of alcohol in his system, and no pre-existing health conditions. It remains a mystery we can't resolve without more information." These remarks underscore the baffling nature of Kurt's death, as every potential cause seemed to be ruled out, leaving a profound and troubling void in the investigation, with crucial details still eluding the grasp of those seeking the truth. For Kurt's parents, the lack of clear answers was agonizing. Dorothy, heartbroken and desperate for answers, expressed her deep frustration and sorrow over the mysterious circumstances surrounding her son's death. She said, "I don't understand how they can't tell us how he died. I just want to know what happened to my boy and who left him there. I wouldn't do this to an animal, let alone a person. I need to know what happened to Kurt." Her words reflect the anguish of a grieving mother, unable to comprehend how her son's death could remain unexplained, and pleading for the truth about who was responsible and why they left him in such a heartless manner. As the shock of Kurt's death began to subside, Dorothy started to piece together the unusual events that took place during the days he was missing. On the Monday after his disappearance, a friend named David Trisnick claimed that he saw Kurt and another boy walking along a busy street near their home. David, a friend of Kurt's, recalled the crucial encounter that took place during Kurt's disappearance. He explained, "I was on my way to a job interview when I saw Kurt with someone that I didn't recognize. I pulled over to offer them a ride, but a van pulled up. Kurt ran over to the van, shouting, 'Franco!' They both got into the van. If I had known Kurt was missing, I might have followed them or done something, but I didn't know." David's account highlights a missed opportunity and the haunting realization that, unknowingly, he witnessed what could have been a key moment in understanding Kurt's last days, further deepening the mystery of his disappearance. That same Monday, a stranger was seen hanging around the Sova's neighborhood. He noticed Kurt's missing poster in a local record store. While Kurt Sova was still missing, a chilling conversation unfolded in the local record store. The stranger, looking at the missing poster of Kurt, asked for the store manager. "Hey, what's with that missing poster?" he asked. The manager replied, "Oh, it's about a local boy." The stranger's response was unsettling. "You should take it down. You'll find him dead in 2 days, and no one will be able to tell you why." This eerie prediction hinted at a dark foreknowledge, casting a shadow over the search for Kurt. It suggested that someone knew of Kurt's fate and the unresolved mystery surrounding his disappearance, adding to the growing sense of dread and confusion among those desperately seeking answers. Initially dismissed as a prank, the store manager was spooked when, the next day, before opening, the stranger left a note that read, "Roses are red, sky is blue, they found him dead, and they'll find you too." This cryptic note, coupled with its eerie rhyme, suggested a sinister warning and implied a chilling connection to Kurt's fate. It added an element of menace, as if someone knew more than they were saying and was threatening those seeking the truth. The message deepened the mystery, leaving everyone wondering who could have such knowledge and what dark secrets remained hidden. The police questioned the man, and the police claimed he was just a crazy from Detroit. After questioning, they let him go, and when Kurt was found dead, the man had vanished. On the morning of October 28th, the day that Kurt's body was found, Dorothy received a call from Susan, the woman from the party. She recalled, "I got a call at 3:30 a.m. Susan said someone was sleeping in her basement and suggested that it might be Kurt. After all her lies, I didn't know what to believe. Why call me now, after all this time?" Dorothy's account captures her deep skepticism and confusion. Susan, who had previously been misleading about Kurt's presence at the party, now offered this startling information. The timing and content of the call only added to the complexity and uncertainty surrounding Kurt's fate, leaving Dorothy torn between hope and mistrust as she struggled to piece together the truth. Despite the best efforts of his family, friends, and authorities, the circumstances surrounding Kurt's disappearance and death have never been fully understood. Each lead seemed to unravel into a deeper confusion, from Kurt's puzzling absence during those crucial 5 days to the eerie predictions and warnings that surfaced after his body was found. The discovery of Kurt's body in a ravine, devoid of clear signs of trauma or a definitive cause of death, has left a haunting void. His parents, Ken and Dorothy Sova, tirelessly sought the truth, driven by love and the unyielding need for closure. They navigated a maze of contradictory stories, uncooperative witnesses, and strange encounters, all while grappling with the devastating loss of their son. Dorothy's encounters with individuals like Susan, who provided inconsistent information, and the chilling interactions with strangers hinting at dark knowledge, only deepened the mystery. Each detail added another layer to the already intricate web of Kurt's last days, leaving more questions than answers. The pleas of Kurt's parents, reflecting their anguish and their quest for answers, resonate deeply. They wanted nothing more than to understand how their son, a boy who had never caused trouble, met with such an inexplicable end. Ken's recollection of Kurt's character and Dorothy's relentless search illustrate the depths of their love and the profound impact of their loss. The unsettling messages and the cryptic clues that emerged during the investigation have cast long shadows over this case. The strange poem left at the record store and the ominous phone call in the dead of the night hinted at a foreboding truth that remains just out of reach. Decades later, Kurt Sova's death is still a source of grief and bewilderment for his family and the local community. His story serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the unresolved questions that can linger long after a tragedy has ended. As time passes, the hope for answers may fade, but the memory of Kurt Sova endures, preserved in the hearts of those who knew him and in the enduring quest for truth about his untimely death. The mystery of Kurt Sova's disappearance and death remains a chapter in Unsolved Cases, a testament to the enduring pain of unanswered questions and the relentless human desire for understanding and closure. The disappearance of Deputy Jonathan Aujay is one of the most puzzling and unresolved mysteries in Los Angeles County. Aujay, an experienced hiker and ultramarathon runner, vanished on June 11th of 1998 during a hike in the Devil's Punch Bowl natural area. Despite exhaustive efforts to find him, no conclusive evidence about his fate has ever been uncovered, leaving the case shrouded in mystery and speculation. The initial search for Aujay was extensive and thorough. Authorities mobilized a vast array of resources, including helicopters, search dogs, and numerous search and rescue personnel to scour the rugged terrain of the Devil's Punch Bowl. The area, known for its challenging and treacherous landscape, was meticulously searched. Searchers discovered footprints near Mount Baden-Powell, suggesting that Aujay had indeed ventured into this wilderness. However, these footprints led nowhere, and no further evidence or personal items were found. The search, despite its intensity and scale, yielded no substantial clues, leaving Jonathan Aujay's disappearance a baffling mystery. The extensive search efforts underscored the seriousness with which authorities treated the case. Teams worked tirelessly, covering a vast and difficult terrain, but the lack of findings only deepened the puzzle. The footprints found near Mount Baden-Powell raised hopes but ultimately led to a dead end. The mystery of where Aujay went after leaving these tracks continues to perplex searchers and investigators alike. Following the unsuccessful search, subsequent investigations were launched, involving both the FBI and internal probes within the Sheriff's Department. These investigations explored various theories, including the possibility of suicide and foul play. The suicide theory was based on Jonathan's behavior before he disappeared. In the days leading up to his hike, Jonathan gave away several personal items, such as his father's gold necklace and his running medals, which some interpreted as a sign he was putting his affairs in order. However, his family and friends strongly disputed this theory, emphasizing his close relationship with his daughter and his generally positive outlook on life. They insisted that Jonathan was not someone who would take his own life, highlighting his excitement about upcoming personal and professional opportunities. The theory of foul play suggested a more sinister scenario. Allegations arose that Jonathan might have uncovered illegal activities, such as methamphetamine production, involving corrupt law enforcement officers. Informants and some of Jonathan Aujay's colleagues claimed that he was silenced to prevent him from exposing these activities. This theory was supported by reports that Jonathan Aujay had been involved in investigating corruption within the department, and some believe he had become a target because of what he knew. Despite these serious allegations and the subsequent investigations, no definitive evidence was ever found to confirm any of these theories. The potential involvement of corruption within the Sheriff's Department added a layer of complexity and intrigue to the case, but without concrete proof, these theories only remained speculative. These investigations delved into various leads and informants' claims. One informant reported hearing that Jonathan had come across something he shouldn't have during his hike, and he was taken care of. Another informant claimed that Jonathan had been seen with 2 armed bikers before his disappearance, but despite these leads, still no evidence was ever found. Jonathan's disappearance left a profound and lasting impact on his family. They continue to struggle with the lack of closure, living in a state of perpetual uncertainty. The unanswered questions surrounding his fate have caused immense emotional pain and distress. His family have been left to navigate their lives without the comfort of knowing what happened to him, which has been particularly hard on his daughter, who shared a close bond with her father. The enduring mystery means that every day is a reminder of his absence and the unanswered questions that loom over their lives. Jonathan Aujay's colleagues in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are equally haunted by his mysterious disappearance. Many who work closely with him are troubled not only by the loss of a friend and fellow deputy, but also by the potential implications of corruption that some theories suggested. The idea that one of their own could be involved in a cover-up or foul play adds a layer of mistrust and fear within the department. This suspicion created an atmosphere of unease and has left many deputies feeling unsettled and questioning the integrity of their organization. The lack of answers have fostered a sense of unresolved tension and anxiety among Jonathan Aujay's colleagues. The ongoing impact of Jonathan Aujay's disappearance is a testament to the profound effects that such mysterious and unresolved cases can have on the personal and professional lives of those connected to it. The search for answers continues, with the hope that someday the truth will emerge, bringing closure to his family, peace to his colleagues, and restoring the integrity to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. It is important to emphasize that even seemingly trivial details can be pivotal in solving this case. Law enforcement officials need every piece of the puzzle to build a complete picture of the events surrounding Jonathan's disappearance. For example, if you have any knowledge regarding the allegations of corruption and illegal activities within the Sheriff's Department, this information could be crucial. It might corroborate existing suspicions or open new lines of inquiry. Your contribution could provide the breakthrough that investigators need to make significant progress in this case. If you were in the Devil's Punch Bowl area on or around June 11th of 1998 and saw anything unusual, please report it. If you've heard anything about this case or the allegations of corruption, share this information with authorities. If you're concerned about revealing your identity, you can provide information anonymously. Many law enforcement agencies offer ways to submit tips without disclosing your name. Your assistance is critical in helping to resolve this case. Jonathan Aujay's family continues to live in pain and uncertainty, and his colleagues remain haunted by the unanswered questions. By coming forward with any information you might have, you can help bring some peace and contribute to the pursuit of justice. On a seemingly ordinary day, January 25th of 2002, Christopher Thompkins vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that has baffled investigators and haunted his family ever since. This perplexing disappearance occurred in the quiet, rural expanse of Harris County, Georgia, and despite numerous searches and countless questions, the case remains unsolved to this day. Christopher Thompkins was a 20-year-old young man residing in the small community of Ellerslie, Georgia. Known for his friendly demeanor and strong work ethic, Christopher lived with his mother, Ann Mackenzie, who cherished their close-knit relationship. Christopher was employed by a local surveying company, a job he had taken to help support his family. His mother, Ann, also had a connection to his workplace, as she worked as a babysitter for the family that owned the surveying business. This interwoven relationship made his sudden disappearance all the more perplexing and deeply personal for those involved. The morning of January 25th, 2002 started like any other for Christopher Thompkins. He kissed his mother goodbye and left their home, arriving at 8:10 a.m. at the office of the local surveying company. Christopher parked his car and then joined his co-worker for the drive to the job site. The team headed into a lightly wooded area off County Line Road, a typical survey location surrounded by serene, yet somewhat isolating nature. The crew of 4 men, including Christopher, began their workday by spreading out in a line, each positioned approximately 50 feet apart. It was a routine job, each man focused on his tasks as they moved steadily through the underbrush. The peace of the afternoon was abruptly shattered around 1:30 p.m. when one of Christopher's co-workers looked up and realized that he was gone. In an instant, Christopher had vanished. His co-workers initially thought he might have stepped away briefly, perhaps to use the bathroom, but as minutes passed with no sign of him, their concern grew. They began to call out his name, receiving only the haunting silence of the forest in response. Panic set in as they searched the immediate area, but there was no trace of Christopher. His tools laid abandoned on the ground, and one of his boots was found hanging from a nearby barbed wire fence. The immediate action was confusion and fear as the team struggled to comprehend how a man could disappear so completely and suddenly. Following Christopher's disappearance, authorities were notified, and his mother was informed around 4:15 p.m. that same day. The initial search efforts began promptly, with family members and volunteers combing the area. Their search yielded a puzzling scene. Christopher's boot was found hanging from a barbed wire fence. A piece of blue fiber, likely from his pants, was caught nearby, and 12 cents lay scattered on the ground. Despite these findings, there was no sign of Christopher himself. As weeks turned into months, the search for Christopher continued, but hope only dimmed. In July, 5 months after his disappearance, a second boot belonging to Christopher was discovered by a local farmer miles away from the initial search area. Despite this discovery, there was still no additional clues or evidence to shed light on Christopher's fate, leaving his case shrouded in mystery. Ann Mackenzie vividly recalls the day her son disappeared. Upon learning of Christopher's absence, she immediately sprang into action, organizing family-led search efforts in the area that he was last seen. Her determination to find her son drove her and her family to scour the woods tirelessly. Ann Mackenzie remains unconvinced by the theory that Christopher walked away voluntarily. She maintains that her son, whom she saw daily, displayed no signs of unusual behavior leading up to his disappearance. Adding to her skepticism were the conflicting accounts and peculiar behavior of Christopher's co-workers, further fueling her belief that something more sinister had occurred. The initial response to Christopher's disappearance was hampered by the 24-hour rule for missing adults, delaying the formal investigation. Despite these limitations, local authorities eventually engaged in the search efforts. As the complexity of the case grew, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was brought in to assist, although their involvement yielded no significant breakthroughs. Christopher's disappearance sparked outrage and concern within the community. Protests were organized, with the public demanding a more thorough investigation and justice for Christopher. Media coverage played a crucial role in keeping the case in the public eye, with news outlets and community activists striving to maintain pressure on law enforcement to solve the mystery and provide answers to a grieving family. Law enforcement initially said that Christopher had left voluntarily. This theory, however, was met with skepticism due to the lack of substantial evidence supporting such a conclusion. No clear motive or reason for Christopher to disappear of his own accord was ever established. Christopher's family firmly believes that foul play was involved in his disappearance. They have speculated about the possible involvement of his co-workers, noting inconsistencies in their accounts and behavior. Additionally, the family and others have considered various psychological factors that might explain his sudden disappearance, though these theories also lack concrete evidence. External threats, such as abduction or other malicious action, remain a troubling possibility in the minds of those closest to Christopher. Ann Mackenzie has never stopped searching for closure and the truth about her son's disappearance. Her relentless advocacy includes making public statements and participating in media interviews to keep Christopher's case in the spotlight. She hopes that maintaining public interest will eventually lead to new information or breakthroughs. Despite ongoing efforts, Christopher Thompson's case remains unsolved. Law enforcement agencies, including the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, continue to keep the case open, but have made no significant advancements in recent years. Ann Mackenzie and her supporters continue to appeal to the public for any information that could shed light on Christopher's fate, urging anyone with knowledge of the events surrounding his disappearance to come forward. Christopher Thompkins' disappearance on January 25th of 2002 remains an unsolved mystery. The investigation faced numerous challenges, including initial delays, limited evidence, and inconsistent accounts from co-workers. Despite exhaustive efforts by his family and ongoing advocacy by his mother, no substantial leads have ever emerged. The need for closure and justice for Christopher remains as urgent as ever. This case continues to weigh heavily on Christopher's family and the community. Anyone with information about Christopher's disappearance is urged to come forward. The hope is that even the smallest detail could provide a breakthrough. Reflecting on the profound impact this mystery has had, the community stands united in the call for answers and justice for Christopher Thompkins. Yosemite National Park, a vast expanse of natural beauty and wilderness in California, is renowned for its majestic waterfalls, towering cliffs, and ancient sequoias. Spanning over 750,000 acres, this iconic park draws millions of visitors each year, eager to experience its awe-inspiring vistas and serene landscapes. However, beneath its serene facade lies a chilling mystery that has haunted the park for decades. On a warm summer day in 1983, a family exploring the tranquil Summit Meadow in Yosemite National Park stumbled upon a sight that would forever haunt their memories. Amidst their leisurely hike, they discovered a severed hand and a forearm, eerily out of place in the serene surroundings. The horror of this unexpected find sent shockwaves through the park. Authorities quickly launched an investigation, but the search for answers proved challenging. The remote location and the rugged terrain of Yosemite made it difficult for investigators to piece together the events leading to this grisly discovery. Despite extensive searches, clues were scarce, and the park's vast wilderness seemed to swallow any evidence that might have been left behind. The severed extremities were examined in detail. The clean cut suggested the use of a sharp instrument, raising chilling questions about the circumstances of the victim's demise. No identifying marks or clues were found on the remains, deepening the mystery and leaving investigators baffled. The unsettling find cast a dark shadow over Summit Meadow, turning a picturesque spot into the epicenter of one of Yosemite's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. 5 years after the horrific discovery of the severed hand and forearm, the mystery deepened. In 1988, park rangers made another grim find, a human skull, unearthed not far from the original location in Yosemite's wilderness. This unsettling discovery reignited the case, sparking new efforts to identify the victim and uncover the truth behind the gruesome remains. Despite the advancement in forensic science, investigators face continuous struggles in identifying the victim. The rugged and isolated terrain, combined with the passage of time, complicated their efforts. Initial forensic recreations of the victim's face provided some hope, but yielded no matches in missing persons databases. The skull and severed limbs told a chilling tale, yet one that lacked the crucial details needed to solve the puzzle. Investigators meticulously analyzed the remains, searching for any clues that could shed light on the victim's identity and the circumstances surrounding their death. They examined dental records, scrutinized every fracture and cut, and employed the latest forensic techniques available at the time. However, each lead seemed to reach a dead end, and the victim remained nameless. In a stunning breakthrough in 2022, advanced DNA profiling finally identified the long mysterious remains as belonging to Patricia Hicks. This revelation brought a wave of both relief and deeper intrigue. Patricia Hicks was a name that had faded into the records of missing persons reports from the 1980s, and her identification opened a Pandora's box of questions. Patricia Hicks had a troubled background, marred by her ties to a local cult leader named Donald Eugene Gibson. Gibson, a charismatic but sinister figure, had long been the subject of local whispers and suspicions. His cult, which operated in the shadows of the Yosemite area, was known for its strange and often disturbing practices. Patricia's association with Gibson hinted at a dark and possibly violent undercurrent in her life. Adding another layer of complexity to the case was the connection to Henry Lee Lucas, one of America's most notorious serial killers. Lucas, known for his confessions to hundreds of murders, had a history of traveling through California during the time Patricia disappeared. While many of Lucas's confessions were dubious, investigators could not ignore the chilling possibility that he might have crossed paths with Patricia. This breakthrough, though significant, transformed the case from a simple missing persons mystery into a labyrinth of tale of cults, dark rituals, and possible serial killers. Patricia Hicks's identification was not the end of the story, but the beginning of a deeper and more sinister investigation into her life and the circumstances surrounding her gruesome end. Patricia Hicks's life was marked by a series of tumultuous events that would eventually lead her into the dark underworld of a local cult. Born in 1957, Patricia grew up in a modest household. Her early years were overshadowed by family struggles and personal trauma, leaving her vulnerable and searching for a sense of belonging and purpose. In the late 1970s, Patricia moved to California seeking a fresh start. It was here that she encountered Donald Eugene Gibson, a charismatic yet deeply sinister figure who led a small, secretive cult. Gibson's influence over his followers was profound, often employing manipulative and coercive tactics to maintain control. Patricia quickly became entangled in Gibson's web. His cult, operating under a guise of spiritual enlightenment, was involved in various criminal activities, ranging from drug trafficking to more disturbing rumors of ritualistic practices. Patricia's connection to the cult deepened, and she became one of Gibson's most loyal followers, further isolating her from the rest of the outside world. Gibson's criminal activities were well known to local law enforcement, but his operations were shrouded in secrecy, making it difficult to gather concrete evidence. Patricia's involvement with Gibson placed her in the midst of this dangerous and enigmatic world, ultimately leading her to a mysterious disappearance and the horrifying discovery of her remains years later. This tragic and unsettling background of Patricia Hicks paints a portrait of a woman ensnared by dark forces, her life and death intertwined with the sinister actions of a cult leader and a shadow underbelly of criminal activity. Donald Eugene Gibson was a man of dark charisma and unsettling influence. Rising from obscurity in the late 1970s, Gibson fashioned himself as a spiritual guide, drawing followers with promises of enlightenment and salvation. His magnetic personality masked a much more sinister agenda. His small group of devotees grew into a full-fledged cult, shrouded in secrecy and fear. Gibson's criminal activities were as varied as they were vile. Under the guise of spiritual leadership, he orchestrated drug trafficking operations and engaged in fraudulent schemes. Rumors also circulated about more nefarious practices, including ritualistic ceremonies that hinted at violence and manipulation. Despite multiple investigations, his operations were so secretive that law enforcement struggled to bring him to justice. Over the years, Gibson faced several trials, often slipping through the cracks of the legal system due to lack of evidence or witness intimidation. His ability to evade capture only heightened his followers' reverence for him, painting him as a figure above the law. This aura of invincibility deepened his control over his devotees, including Patricia Hicks, who became one of his most dedicated followers. In a sudden and mysterious turn of events, Donald Eugene Gibson vanished without a trace. His disappearance in the early 1980s left a power vacuum within the cult, causing chaos and fear among his followers. For Patricia Hicks, Gibson's sudden absence was devastating. Her lifeline, the man who had manipulated her into his world, was gone, leaving her vulnerable and directionless. Gibson's disappearance had a profound impact on Hicks. Isolated, without the protection of her leader, Patricia's fate took a dark and tragic turn, culminating in the grisly discovery of her remains years later. The shadow of Donald Eugene Gibson loomed large over her life and death, a testament to the destructive power of his influence. Henry Lee Lucas was one of America's most infamous serial killers, notorious for his confessions to hundreds of murders across the country. His chilling accounts of violence and death painted a picture of a man driven by impulses. In the late 1980s, Lucas claimed to have committed crimes in numerous states, including California, where he provided specific details about a murder in Summit Meadow. Lucas's confession about the Summit Meadow crime included eerie specifics that matched the gruesome discovery of Patricia Hicks's remains. He described the remote location, the method of dismemberment, and even mentioned the presence of a cult, which aligned with the known connection between Patricia and Douglas Eugene Gibson. These details lent a disturbing credibility to his claims. However, evaluating Lucas's confessions proved to be a complex task. Known for fabricating stories and seeking notoriety, his reliability was highly questionable. Investigators scrutinized his statements, cross-referencing them with circumstantial evidence from the case. While some details matched the crime scene, others were vague or inconsistent, casting some doubt on his involvement. The circumstantial evidence, combined with Lucas's reputation for deception, left the authorities in a dilemma. Was Lucas truly responsible for Patricia Hicks' death, or was he exploiting the case for his own twisted fame? The connection to Lucas added another layer of mystery to an already perplexing case, intertwining the narratives of a notorious serial killer and a young woman ensnared by a dark cult. The haunting possibility of Lucas's involvement continues to intrigue and perplex, leaving the true extent of his crimes and their connection to Patricia Hicks's tragic fate shrouded in uncertainty and mystery. The investigation into Patricia Hicks's death faced significant challenges, particularly in confirming Henry Lee Lucas's involvement. Amidst the uncertainty surrounding Lucas, alternative suspects and theories began to surface. One such theory pointed to Cary Stayner, a former motel handyman and serial killer who later gained infamy for the Yosemite murders in 1999. Stayner's brutal methods and familiarity with the park's remote areas made him a plausible suspect. However, no direct evidence linked him to Patricia Hicks, and the timeline of his known crimes did not align perfectly. Other theories propose that Patricia's death could have been the result of internal conflicts within Donald Eugene Gibson's cult, suggesting that her murder might have been an act of retribution or ritualistic killing. The mystery of Patricia Hicks's identity was finally unraveled through the groundbreaking use of forensic genealogy. This innovative technique played a pivotal role in solving the decade-old case, providing a much-needed breakthrough. Forensic experts began extracting DNA from the remains found in Summit Meadow. Using advanced technology, they created a detailed DNA profile, which was then compared against a vast database of genetic information. The process involved meticulous work, tracing genetic markers and constructing an extensive family tree. This painstaking effort eventually led to a match. The DNA profile connected to relatives of Patricia Hicks, confirming her identity with remarkable precision. This breakthrough not only solved the puzzle of who the remains belonged to, but also opened a new avenue in the investigation. Identifying the remains had profound implications for the case. It validated years of speculation and provided a crucial piece of the puzzle that had eluded investigators for so long. With her identity confirmed, authorities could refocus their efforts on understanding the circumstances of her death, delving deeper into her connections with Donald Eugene Gibson and the potential involvement of other suspects. The case of Patricia Hicks exemplifies the challenging nature of cold cases. As time passes, evidence can deteriorate, memories fade, and key witnesses disappear, making the quest for truth increasingly difficult. Each breakthrough, like the identification through genetics, brings a glimmer of hope, but often leads to more questions than answers. The search for justice for Patricia Hicks also continues, driven by a desire to uncover the full story behind her tragic end. Her case serves as a reminder of the complexities and enduring mysteries that often accompany cold cases, highlighting the relentless pursuit of truth and closure to those left behind. For Patricia Hicks's family and community, the identification brought a mixture of relief and renewed grief. The confirmation of her identity closed one chapter, but reopened old wounds as they grapple with the unanswered questions about her tragic fate. The impact on those who knew and loved Patricia has been profound, leaving a lasting scar on the community. As the investigation continues, the quest for justice and closure remains a driving force, highlighting the enduring importance of uncovering the full truth behind Patricia Hicks's untimely death. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a place of breathtaking beauty and treacherous terrain. Nestled on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee, this park attracts millions of visitors each year with its lush forests, mist-covered peaks, and an extensive network of trails. But beneath its picturesque surface lies a history of strange disappearances that defy explanation. One such case is that of Mitzie Susan Clements, a 53-year-old experienced hiker from Ohio. In late September of 2018, Susan set out for a seemingly routine hike with her daughter near Clingman's Dome, the highest point in the Smokies. It was a day like any other, filled with the promise of adventure and the serene beauty of nature. But as the day wore on, the tranquil setting turned into a scene of despair and confusion. Susan never returned to the parking lot where she was supposed to meet her daughter. The disappearance of Susan Clements is shrouded in mystery. Despite her experience and familiarity with hiking, she vanished in an area that, while rugged and challenging, is frequented by many visitors. The weather on the day of her disappearance was cool, rainy, and foggy, conditions that can quickly turn a routine hike into a perilous ordeal. Susan Clements was a 53-year-old woman from Cincinnati, Ohio. She worked for the Cincinnati Department of Sewers and was a dedicated mother of 3. Susan was known for her adventurous spirit and love for the outdoors, often spending her free time hiking and exploring nature. She was considered an experienced on-trail hiker, familiar with the demands and challenges of various trails. Her experience made her disappearance all the more perplexing. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is one of the most visited national parks in the United States. Covering an area of 522,419 acres, the park is renowned for its stunning biodiversity, ancient mountains, and lush forest. The park's landscape is characterized by its steep, rugged, dense vegetation and a complex network of more than 800 miles of trails, including a section of the famous Appalachian Trail. Clements Dome, the highest point in the park at 6,643 feet, offers panoramic views and is a popular destination for hikers. However, the park's beauty is often accompanied by rapidly changing weather conditions, with fog, rain, and cooler temperatures frequently engulfing the higher elevations. These elements, combined with the park's challenging terrain, can make navigation difficult and increase the risks for even the most experienced hikers. Despite its popularity and the thousands of visitors it attracts each year, the park's wild and untamed nature remains a formidable force, contributing to the mysterious and often dangerous allure of the Great Smoky Mountains. On September 25, 2018, Susan Clements and her 20-year-old daughter set out for a hike near Clements Dome. The pair started their trek on the Forney Ridge Trail, planning a short afternoon hike to enjoy the scenic beauty of the area. As they approached the parking lot, Susan's daughter expressed a desire to climb to the Clements Dome Observation Tower, which stands at 6,643 feet. Being the faster hiker, she decided to go ahead and meet her mother back at the parking lot afterward. Around 5 p.m., Susan's daughter returned to the parking lot, expecting to reunite with her mother. However, Susan was nowhere to be found. Initially, her daughter retraced their steps and searched the immediate area, hoping to spot her. As time passed and there was still no sign of Susan, concern grew. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Susan's daughter notified park authorities later that evening. This marked the beginning of a large-scale search effort as rescuers and volunteers mobilized to find the missing hiker in the rugged terrain of the Great Smoky Mountains. Over 125 trained personnel from 30 search and rescue agencies were mobilized to assist in the effort. The resources employed included helicopters, drones, and canine units, all working together to comb the vast and challenging terrain. The search teams faced significant challenges due to the poor weather conditions, including rain, fog, and wind. These adverse conditions not only hampered visibility, but also made the rugged terrain even more treacherous. The dense vegetation added another layer of difficulty, complicating the search efforts to locate any signs of Susan. The search covered extensive areas, including more than 500 miles of trails and roughly 10 square miles of off-trail landscapes. Grid searches were conducted in particularly difficult areas, ensuring that no stone was left unturned in the mission to find Susan. Despite the thoroughness of these efforts, the terrain's complexity and the vegetation's density posed continuous obstacles. To improve communication and coordination in the remote and poorly serviced areas, Verizon set up a portable cell phone tower. This technology provided critical cell and data coverage, enabling more effective management and support of the search operations. The use of this cell tower was vital in maintaining real-time communication among the various teams involved in the search. On October 2nd of 2018, after a week of intensive searching, the efforts to find Susan Clements came to a somber conclusion. Exactly 7 days after her mysterious disappearance, search teams finally located her body. Susan's body was found in a remote and rugged area approximately 2 miles west of the Clements Dome parking area, deep within the Huggins Creek drainage. This location, far off the beaten path, was surprising given Susan's experience as a hiker and her familiarity with on-trail navigation. The spot where she was found raised many questions about how she ended up so far from the trails that she was known to frequent so much. The terrain around Huggins Creek drainage is notoriously difficult to traverse, marked by dense brush and steep, uneven ground. The area is so heavily vegetated that visibility is severely limited, making it nearly impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. This dense underbrush provided a formidable challenge to the search teams, and it is easy to understand how someone could become so disoriented in such an environment. When Susan's body was discovered, it was clear that she had succumbed to the elements. The thick vegetation and rugged landscape suggested that she had struggled to find her way out. This setting added to the mysterious nature of her disappearance, as it seemed highly unlikely that she would have ventured into such an inhospitable area on her own. The circumstances of her death left many wondering whether she had become lost, disoriented, or if some other unknown factor had led her to this remote location. The case is rife with questions and theories. One of the most plausible reasons for her disorientation involves the weather conditions at the time. On the day that she vanished, the Great Smoky Mountains were shrouded in fog, drenched with rain, and experiencing very low temperatures. Such conditions can disorient even the most experienced hikers, reducing visibility and making familiar landmarks difficult to recognize. Another critical factor could have been hypothermia. Hypothermia occurs when the body loses heat faster than it can produce it, causing a dangerous drop in core temperature. This condition can lead to confusion, poor decision-making, and erratic behavior, all of which could explain why Susan might have strayed so far from her intended path. If she began to suffer from hypothermia, she might have become increasingly disoriented and unable to navigate back to the trails of safety. In many cases of lost hikers, a common behavior is to head downhill or towards water, driven by an instinctual belief that these paths will lead to safety. Susan's body was found down the steep Huggins Creek drainage, suggesting she might have followed this natural inclination in her disoriented state. Susan's disappearance isn't an isolated incident in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. In 1976, trainee Lynn Gibson, a 16-year-old, also vanished from the Forney Ridge Trail near Clingman's Dome. Despite extensive search efforts, trainee was never found. The similarities between these two cases are striking. Both women disappeared in the same general area, both were experienced in the outdoors, and both cases remain unsolved. However, there are differences as well. Trenny's case had indications of a possible abduction, while Susan's disappearance, according to park authorities, showed no signs of foul play or animal attack. Despite these differences, the proximity and mysterious nature of both cases invite speculation about whether a more profound, underlying danger exists in the park. Park authorities have concluded that Susan's death was likely the result of a tragic accident compounded by severe weather and difficult terrain. They found no immediate evidence of foul play or any signs of an animal attack. This conclusion is based on the lack of injuries consistent with an attack and the environmental conditions present at the time of her disappearance. The case of Susan Clements highlights the unpredictable and often perilous nature of our national parks. Despite their beauty, these vast wilderness areas can be incredibly dangerous, even for the most experienced of hikers. Susan's disappearance raises many questions about how quickly and drastically conditions can change, leading to tragic outcomes. Her story is a reminder of the importance of being prepared for all eventualities when venturing into the wild. National parks have long been the sites of mysterious disappearances, and Susan's case is no exception. The eerie similarities between her disappearance and that of Trenny Lynn Gibson in 1976 suggest that there may be more at play in these wilderness areas than we can fully understand. The thick vegetation, the rugged terrain, and the rapidly changing weather create a perfect storm for such tragedies. As always, we invite you, our viewers, to share your thoughts and theories about this perplexing case in the comments below. What do you think happened to Susan Clements? Have you had any similar experiences in national parks? Your insight and discussions can help keep these stories alive and honor the memory of those who have tragically lost their lives in the wilderness.
Join the search for Michael Bryson, and they are not slowing down 5 days later. KZI 9 News.
27-year-old Michael Bryson has been missing for more than 2 months now, and the search is still very active.
The disappearance of Michael Bryson.
He went missing in 2020 after telling his parents he was going on a camping trip.
The party, or rave as it's been referred to, took place at the Hobo Campground just outside Darena in the Umpqua National Forest.
In the expanse of the Umpqua National Forest, an unsettling mystery began to unfold in early August of 2020. Michael Bryson, a 27-year-old resident of Eugene, Oregon, would soon become the central figure in a disappearance that perplexed and alarmed both his community and the authorities. Michael was well known in his hometown for his generous spirit and his love for music, which often saw him at the heart of local gatherings. His personality was as vibrant as the beats he spun as a DJ. As summer reached its peak, Michael planned to attend a week-long birthday celebration that combined the rustic charm of camping with the unrestrained joy of a music festival. The chosen venue, Hobo Campground, was nestled in the dense, lush settings of the Umpqua National Forest, a place that promised not only natural beauty, but a break from the hustle of everyday life. This trip was not just another outing, it was anticipated as a highlight of the summer, a perfect escape into nature with close friends. Before his departure, Michael visited his parents' home in Harrisburg, a small town not far from Eugene. It was here, in the comfort of familiar surroundings, that he shared the details of his upcoming adventure. His excitement was measurable. His eyes lit up as he spoke about the people he would meet and the music he would bring to life in the forest. His parents, accustomed to their son's adventurous spirit, listened intently, sharing in his enthusiasm while silently nursing the usual parental concerns that flutter about when either a child or adult ventures from home. Michael's journey from his parents' home to the Hobo Campground was uneventful, marked by the scenic drive through Oregon's picturesque landscapes. Upon arrival, he was greeted by the sight and sounds of a party already in motion. Friends and acquaintances, some he had not seen since before the world was gripped by the pandemic, welcomed him with open arms. The campground was alive with energy as tents dotted the sites, lights strung between the trees, and in the distance, the steady pulse of electronic music beckoned. As he set up his own campsite, Michael could feel the pulsing energy of the forest around him. The trees seemed to sway rhythmically with the music, and the night sky was a blanket of stars, undisturbed by city lights. The setting was idyllic, yet, as the night drew on, the isolation of the wilderness around them could not be ignored. It was in this vast, open space that the line between festivity and vulnerability would blur, setting the stage for a disappearance that would captivate and mystify all who heard about it. The mysterious elements of Michael's last known location, the remote and primitive Hobo Campground, the imposing forest, and the joyful yet chaotic nature of a rave in such a setting, all of which contributed to the eerie prelude of his story. Little did anyone know, this vibrant beginning would soon take a turn into the unknown, leaving behind nothing but questions and a haunting silence of the woods where he was last seen. As the vibrant night progressed at the Hobo Campground deep within the Umpqua National Forest, the atmosphere thumped with a mixture of music, laughter, and the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. The event, a blend of a birthday celebration and a rave, had drawn a diverse crowd of attendees, all there to enjoy the escape in the wilderness. Michael Bryson, known among his friends for his charisma and DJ skills, was right at the heart of it. The evening started promisingly as Michael took to the makeshift stage to perform a DJ set that perfectly captured the spirit of this gathering. His music, a mix of vibrant beats and soulful melodies, resonated through the crowd, setting feet moving and spirits soaring. As he spun track after track, the connection between him and the audience seemed unbreakable, a shared moment of joy that defined the start of what was meant to be a memorable night. However, as the night wore on, the initial euphoria began to give way to a more chaotic undertone. The isolated setting, combined with the consumption of alcohol and other substances, started to alter the mood among the partygoers. Michael, who was at the center of this whirlwind, appeared increasingly out of sorts as the nights drew into the early morning hours. Friends later recounted seeing him agitated and restless, a contrast to the elated DJ who had owned the stage just hours earlier. Around 4 a.m., the situation took a mysterious turn. Michael abruptly left the bus that served as the central hub for the rave, stepping out into the dark forest. His departure was sudden and without any clear indication of his intent. Concerns quickly escalated when a text message surfaced from one of the attendees. Also, we may or may not have spun Michael out, and he is lost in the woods. This message suggested that Michael might have been profoundly affected by substances, enough to disorient him and impair his ability to navigate the treacherous woodland safely. The term spun out gains a chilling significance, especially when paired with the cryptic text message about his condition on the night he vanished. The Urban Dictionary definition of spun out describes a state induced by excessive use of powerful stimulants like methamphetamine or synthetic drugs, which can lead to severe paranoia, disorientation, and erratic behavior. This state is marked by symptoms such as fear of law enforcement and bizarre, repetitive behaviors. Michael's sudden and unexplained departure from the bus at the party might suggest that he was experiencing some of these intense effects. His behavior, as described by the unsettling text, implies that he could have been suffering from a severe level of distress and confusion, exacerbating his vulnerability in the wild. The dense and dark forest, combined with his possible impairment, would have significantly increased the risks that he faced, painting a grim picture of his last known hours. Given the mysterious and alarming circumstances, the search efforts could have been influenced by concerns over his mental and physical state, focusing on areas where someone in a confused and agitated state might wander. This adds a layer of urgency and complexity to the search, as rescuers might not only be looking for someone who was physically lost, but also psychologically distressed and unable to seek help effectively. The broader understanding of what it meant to be spun out helps illustrate why Michael's disappearance was particularly perplexing and worrying for those searching for him. It emphasizes the critical need for timely and thorough search and rescue efforts in such cases, where an individual's condition could drastically worsen their chances of surviving in the wilderness. This revelation sent ripples of worry through the group. A sense of unease began to permeate the crowd. Discussions about what the text could mean and whether Michael was in a state to look after himself became more frantic. The search for Michael did not fully begin until the full daylight illuminated the dense forest, revealing just how daunting the task of finding him would be. The delay in organizing a search, combined with the cryptic, last known circumstances of his departure, complicated the efforts. The forest, vast and indifferent, kept its secrets as the search teams prepared to delve into its depths. The realization of Michael Bryson's disappearance did not dawn immediately on the partygoers at the hobo campground. It was only as the night's festivities waned and the clear light of day began to break through the dense canopy that the gravity of the situation became apparent. What had started as a night of joy and connection had slipped into a scenario fraught with uncertainty and fear. As the morning unfolded, the initial inquiries into Michael's whereabouts transformed into a deep, communal concern. Friends retraced steps, and the last sighting of Michael was scrutinized, all painting a picture of his unexpected and unexplained departure. His parents, not hearing from him as expected, felt a growing unease that something was terribly wrong. The alarm was raised officially late in the day, much later than the critical initial hours following his disappearance. By this time, the chances of finding Michael quickly and safely were diminishing. His parents, struck by a profound fear that every parent dreads, rushed to the campground. Expecting a coordinated effort by the search teams, they were met instead with a disorganized and seemingly indifferent response from the local authorities and the partygoers who were still on site. The search for Michael officially began that evening, almost a full day after he was last seen. The delay was critical and detrimental. His parents, now desperate, spearheaded the efforts, organizing the search parties, mapping out the area, and coordinating with local search and rescue teams. The campground, once a site of a festivity, turned into a command center for the search operation. As the search expanded, the vastness of the Umpqua National Forest became a formidable adversary. The terrain was rough, with thick underbrush, steep ravines, and extensive ground to cover. The forest, which had so recently echoed with the sounds of music and laughter, now seemed ominously silent, as if holding its breath. Search teams called out for Michael, their voices echoing through the trees, met with only the rustle of leaves in response. The mystery of Michael's whereabouts deepened with each passing hour. Aerial drones buzzed overhead, scanning the forest floor. Horseback teams navigated the more inaccessible areas, and volunteers lined up, shoulder to shoulder, to comb through the underbrush. The community's response was a contrast to the initial casual reactions, now marked by urgency and a sense of growing dread. The fading light of each day brought the chilling realization that Michael might not be found easily or at all. With every shadow cast by the setting sun, hope dwindled, and the forest seemed to grow larger and darker, a vast expanse hiding a mystery that no one was prepared for. The search efforts, fraught with emotional and physical exhaustion, reflected the harsh reality with each hour that passed. The likelihood of finding Michael alive and well diminished significantly. As the initial fervor of the search for Michael Bryson began to wane, the efforts transitioned into a prolonged and grueling phase. Weeks turned into months, and the dense Umpqua National Forest continued to keep its secrets, offering no clues to Michael's whereabouts. The exhaustive daily searches gradually scaled down, yet the determination of Michael's family and close friends never faltered. They continued to organize weekend searches, reaching out to experienced trackers and anyone who could help navigate the challenging terrain. The mystery of Michael's disappearance deepened with each fruitless search. Every uncovered footprint or piece of discarded clothing led to dead ends, further compounding the frustration and heartache felt by those looking for answers. The forest seemed impenetrable, a vast green expanse that swallowed up any trace of Michael. It was as if the earth had opened up and taken him, leaving behind nothing but echoes of his last known night. Inconsistencies in the stories from the last people to see Michael alive fueled various theories and speculation. Some believed he might have decided to walk away from his life, overwhelmed by undisclosed pressures. Others suspected foul play, a theory that his abrupt and uncharacteristic disappearance seemed to support. The lack of concrete evidence made every hypothesis as plausible as it was haunting. Volunteers and law enforcement combed through the area with drones that swept the skies and divers who plunged into the nearby lakes, searching for any sign that could lead to Michael. The community rallied with vigils and fundraisers, maintaining public interest and hope, keeping Michael's story alive and in the media and on social media platforms. Despite the dwindling leads, the search efforts revealed the resilience and depth of the community's commitment to finding Michael. His parents, driven by a profound need for closure, continued to push for answers. They met regularly with investigators, pored over maps, and reviewed hours of drone footage, desperate for a breakthrough. As the seasons changed, the harsh weather conditions added another layer of difficulty to the search efforts. The cold, wet months made the terrain even more treacherous, and the reduced daylight hours shortened the window for searching. Yet, through rain and cold, Michael's family and the community's resolve only seemed to strengthen, bound together by the shared sorrow and collective hope for resolution. This ongoing struggle to find Michael created a somber bond among those involved, each person driven by a mix of hope, duty, and the haunting realization that the mystery might never be solved. The forest, once a place of refuge and joy for Michael, had become a somber symbol of loss and unresolved mystery, its silence a constant reminder of all that remained unknown. Months after Michael Bryson's disappearance, the dense foliage of the Umpqua National Forest continued to hold its silence, deepening the puzzle surrounding his fate. The vibrant energy and promise that once marked Michael's presence at the hobo campground seemed a distant memory, overshadowed by the pervasive mystery and sorrowful wait for answers. The Bryson family, supported unwaveringly by a community that refused to let Michael's story fade into obscurity, found themselves in a state of suspended grief. The forest, a sprawling entity of both beauty and menace, appeared to guard its secrets jealously, frustrating the efforts of even the most determined searchers. As the investigation continued, it transformed from a frantic search into a more methodical, albeit agonizing, quest for any piece of evidence. Michael's parents pored over every detail, revisiting the same spots repeatedly, each visit a reminder of the passage of time without resolution. They organized community meetings, kept in constant contact with detectives, and maintained a presence in the media to ensure that their son's case remained in the public eye. The lack of evidence and definitive leads prompted broader questions about the nature of disappearances in wilderness areas, drawing attention from experts in search and rescue operations, psychologists, and criminologists. Discussions about safety in remote settings, the effects of substance use in vulnerable situations, and the psychological impacts of unresolved cases filled community forums and social media discussions. Symbolically, the forest became a reminder of life's fragility and unpredictability. Each tree, path, and creek in the national forest had been scrutinized, yet the vastness of the wild seemed only to grow, as if mirroring the expanding gap between the known and the unknown. The echoing void left by Michael's absence resonated through a community, a constant call to understand, to remember, and to learn. In this lingering phase of not knowing, the Bryson family and their supporters found a certain strength in unity and purpose. They established foundations to support other families dealing with similar agonies, advocating for better resources in wilderness and search and rescue efforts, and also for the greater awareness about personal safety among partygoers and adventurers alike. As the years passed, the narrative of Michael Bryson did not conclude with clear answers, but evolved into a larger dialogue about loss, hope, and the human capacity to seek truths against dawning odds. The forest, with its undisturbed depths and silent watch over the secrets that it holds, stood as a solemn testament to the enduring search for Michael, a search that, in its essence, transcended the physical and ventured into the heart of human resilience and collective memory. The story of Michael Bryson, unresolved yet unforgettable, continues to echo through the trees, a lingering reminder of the search for truth in the shadows of uncertainty. Trammell Evans, at the young age of 25, was the epitome of an avid hiker, with a passion that led him down countless trails and through a variety of landscapes. Trammell sought not just the beauty of the natural world, but also the solitude and challenge that it offered. Each hike was not just a physical journey for him, but a spiritual one as well, a chance to connect with the earth and himself on a deeper level. On April 30th of 2023, Trammell prepared for what was anticipated to be another mark in his journey as an explorer of the great outdoors. This particular adventure had him set his sights on the Black Rock Campground, a renowned starting point for hikers in the northwest corner of Joshua Tree National Park. Known for its unique geological features, stark beauty, and the mysteries whispered by its ancient landscapes, the park was a haven for hikers like Trammell. It was a place where the vast skies met the rugged earth, where every sunrise promised new discoveries. The last day he was seen, Trammell carried with him the usual essentials for a hiker, but also an air of excitement for the unknown paths that he would tread. Joshua Tree, with its twisted namesake trees and terrain that ranged from barren deserts to lush oases, was more than just a park. It was a world unto itself, filled with secrets and challenges. Trammell's plan was to hike from Black Rock to the Geology Tour Road and then return to Black Rock via the California Riding and Hiking Trail, a route familiar to him, yet always ripe with new experiences. However, what started as a routine excursion into the wilds became surrounded in an air of mystery as the days passed. The park, a place of natural wonder, seemed to have drawn Trammell into its fold, keeping him beyond the reach of the world he left behind. As the scheduled date of his return came and went, the mystery deepened. The vast expanses of Joshua Tree National Park, with their allure and danger, had witnessed many stories, but Trammell's had taken an unexpected turn into the unknown. Trammell Evans had a plan that was both simple and daring. He would start his journey at Black Rock, a familiar base camp hugged by the shadows of Joshua Tree National Park's rugged peaks. From there, his path would weave through the desert, aiming for the Geology Tour Road. This stretch was not just a route, but a passage through time, where each rock and crevasse whispered ancient secrets. His return was to be via the California Riding and Hiking Trail, a ribbon of dirt and dust that snaked through the heart of the park, promising solitude and the raw beauty of the wild. May 5th was marked on the calendars as the day of Trammell's return. A friend was to meet him at the same spot where he dropped him off, expecting tales of adventure and sights unseen. But as the clock ticked past the appointed hour, Trammell was nowhere to be found. The air, once filled with anticipation, grew heavy with silence. calls went unanswered, and the horizon, which had once promised the return of an explorer, now echoed with the quiet of his absence. The mystery of his disappearance began to unfold against the backdrop of Joshua Tree's vast landscapes. A place of beauty became a canvas for unanswered questions. Had Trammell wandered off from the beaten path, lured by the call of the unknown? Or had the desert, with its unforgiving terrain and hidden dangers, claimed another soul? The initial absence turned into hours, then days, sparking a search that would comb the trails and hidden valleys of the park. Reports were filed, and a sense of urgency swept through the community. The adventurer, who had set out to conquer the trails of Joshua Tree, had vanished, leaving behind a trail of mystery and concern that would soon draw many into the search for answers. As soon as Trammell Evans was reported missing on May 5th of 2023, Joshua Tree National Park became the epicenter of a massive search and rescue operation. Park Service officials, understanding the urgency and the risk of the desert, mobilized a team equipped not just with the determination to find Trammell, but with the skills honed for precisely this kind of challenge. Trained trackers, experienced in reading the subtle signs of the wilderness, scoured the trails. Searchers, familiar with every hidden valley and secret cave, spread out in a grid, calling out for Trammell, hoping for a response. Climbers, ready to tackle the park's imposing rock formations, looked for any clue that might lead to his whereabouts. Even the sky was enlisted in the effort, with helicopters cutting through the air, their crews peering down, searching for any sign of the missing hiker. The park, vast and veiled in secrets, seemed to hold its breath as the search intensified. Day after day, the teams pushed through the heat and the cold, driven by hope and the fear of what they might find. Amid this exhaustive effort, whispers of Trammell's fate began to surface. Unconfirmed sightings in Slab City and Wonder Valley sparked a flurry of activity, sending teams to these locations with a mix of hope and skepticism. Slab City, known for its off-the-grid community, and Wonder Valley, with its sparse population and wide-open spaces, offered new mysteries of their own. Were these sightings real, or just a mirage or hope in the vast desert? The search continued, days turning into weeks, with each passing moment stretching the fabric of hope thinner. The desert, a place of stark beauty and deadly challenges, offered no easy answers. Every clue, every reported sighting added a layer of mystery to this disappearance, painting a picture of a man seemingly swallowed by the landscape that he so loved. The efforts of the search teams, a testament to the resolve of those who dared to hope in the face of uncertainty, kept the story alive, even as the desert remained silent about the fate of Trammell Evans. In the cold grasp of January, nearly 9 months after Trammell vanished into the wilderness, the silence of the desert was finally broken. A group of park rangers, venturing into the Covington Flats area, stumbled upon a scene that would bring a somber turn to the ongoing mystery. There, scattered among the rugged beauty of the desert, were human remains. This discovery, a tragic bookmark in the search for Trammell, lay ominously close to a collection of belongings that spoke silently over their owner's presence. Among these personal items, a backpack, unmistakably belonging to Trammell, was found. The backpack, along with other possessions scattered nearby, served as a silent testament to the final days of a hiker who had sought solace and adventure in the embrace of nature. The items, each carrying a story of their own, whispered of plans made and journeys undertaken, now halted in the quiet of the desert. The news of the discovery reached Trammell's family, who had been clinging to hope amidst the agony of uncertainty. Faced with the task of confirmation, they found themselves sifting through the personal effects recovered from the scene. Each item, a piece of a life that they feared lost, brought a heavy realization. There, in the fabric of a well-worn backpack, the pages of a journal, and the familiar threads of clothing, was the undeniable proof that they had dreaded to find. The belongings, echoes of Trammell's spirit, confirmed the worst for his family. This confirmation, though heart-wrenching, brought somber clarity to the months of searching, hoping, and waiting. The desert, which had kept its secrets closely guarded, had revealed a tragic truth. The family, united in grief but fortified by the memories of Trammell, faced this new reality with a blend of sorrow and acceptance. In the belongings found near the remains, they found a tangible connection to Trammell, a reminder of his love for the wild and his adventurous spirit. The discovery in Covington Flats, while bringing an end to the search, opened a new chapter of mourning and remembrance for those who knew and loved Trammell Evans. He was more than just a hiker. He was a seeker for the secrets and silence that the wild could only offer. Standing tall at 6'3", with a frame built by the trails he traversed, Trammell was a figure that seemed almost carved out of these very landscapes that he loved. His reddish-brown hair, often under the shadow of a dark green beanie, and a gaze that reflected the depths of his adventures, marked him as the one who belonged to the outdoors. His affinity for hiking was not just a hobby, but a calling. Trammell found in the rugged terrains and the serene vistas a solace that the bustling cityscapes could never offer. Joshua Tree National Park, with its surreal landscapes of gnarled trees and shadowed rocks, had become a sanctuary for him. He had wandered its paths many times before, each journey a testament to his enduring quest for peace and understanding of the natural world. These expeditions were not just mere walks through nature, but pilgrimages to the heart of the wild, where he sought to find himself in the vastness of the earth. Behind his passions, however, lay a struggle seldom shared with the world. Trammell grappled with his chains of alcohol withdrawals, a battle that shadowed his steps even as he sought liberation in the solitude of hiking. The wilderness offered him a reprieve, a place where he could confront his demons amidst the grandeur of nature. Yet, this very quest for healing underestimated the grip of his condition. The challenge of withdrawal, a silent torment that followed him into the embrace of nature, became an unseen adversary among its trails. Trammell's motivation for hiking transcended the physical realms, delving into the psychological need to find balance and healing. The trails offered him a canvas to paint his struggles and victories, a place where the complexity of human endurance met the simplicity of nature's offerings. His journeys were as much about confronting his inner turmoil as they were about exploring the outer world. In the silent majesty of Joshua Tree, Trammell sought not just adventure, but a sanctuary where the whispers of the wind and the warmth of the sun spoke to him, offering him a momentary break from the storm within. The disappearance of Trammell Evans stirred a profound response from both his family and the wider community. The family, in their quest for answers, reached out through social media, creating a network of support that spanned beyond their immediate circle. The digital beacon of hope became a gathering place for those who knew Trammell and many who did not, but were moved by his story. The hiking community, a vast tapestry of individuals who share a common love for the trails, rallied in solidarity. They organized searches, shared flyers, and spread the word, each action a testament to their collective resolve. Amidst the uncertainty, the community's heart swelled with messages of hope, stories of Trammell's kind spirit, and shared prayers for his safe return. This outpouring of support showcased the profound impact one soul could have on many, bridging gaps and uniting strangers in a common cause. Trammell's journey brought to light the often overlooked challenge of alcohol withdrawal, especially in the solitude of nature. His story underscores the vital importance of recognizing the signs and dangers of withdrawal, particularly for those seeking solace and healing in the wilderness. It serves as a reminder for hikers and adventurers to be mindful of their health conditions and the unique challenges they may face when isolated from immediate medical help. The conversation around Trammell's disappearance sparked a crucial dialogue about preparation, the need for awareness of personal health issues, and the importance of not underestimating the severity of withdrawal symptoms. Safety in hiking isn't just about the right gear or knowing the trail. It's equally about understanding one's physical and mental health limits. Trammell Evans' story is a narrative woven with love, mystery, and the undeniable pull of nature. His life, marked by an indomitable spirit and a deep reverence for the outdoors, touched the hearts of those who knew him and those who came to know him through his disappearance. The circumstances of his tragic end, while heart-wrenching, serve as a powerful catalyst for change and awareness in the hiking and broader outdoor communities. His journey reminds us of the beauty of nature and the complexities of human health, urging a deeper understanding and preparation for the challenges we may one day face or embrace in the wilderness. In remembering Trammell, we are called to advocate for increased safety measures and awareness in outdoor adventures, ensuring that the spirit of exploration is safeguarded by knowledge and care for our well-being. Through his story, Trammell Evans leaves behind a legacy that transcends the trails he walked, inspiring a future where the love for adventure is matched by a commitment to safety and health. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. From strange disappearances to cryptic clues left in the desert, these tales remind us that the world is filled with the unexplained. If you've enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends and fellow mystery enthusiasts. Your support helps us to uncover and share more of these fascinating stories. We have many more mysteries waiting to be explored, so stay tuned for the next episode where we delve even deeper into the inexplicable. And if you feel inspired to show more support for our content, you can kindly leave a super chat for any amount. Your generous contributions help us to keep bringing you these riveting tales and continue our quest to uncover the secrets of our world. Thank you once again for your support. Remember, the truth is out there, and together we will find it. See you in the next video.